Hey friends, welcome back to Homestead on a Prayer. Today we're going to be talking all about monarch butterflies. So we have a milkweed patch outside our house and we leave that there for the monarch butterflies. And so something that we've liked to do for a few years now is when we see those monarch caterpillars appear on those milkweed plants, we like to take them into the house and raise them, partly because it's just such a fun experience, but also the survival rate of monarch butterfly caterpillars that are raised in the house away from their predators are a lot higher than the survival rate of monarch caterpillars just left on their own in the wild. This is something that we just really enjoy anyway. It's a lot of fun for the kids to learn and just see the caterpillars grow and see the different stages. It's a great project for school-age kids especially, or if you homeschool, it's just a great science lesson. But especially now with the monarch butterflies being moved to the endangered list, it's something that we really want to do a little more seriously. So today I found some monarch eggs on a milkweed plant outside in my yard. I'm going to show you guys the eggs. I'm just going to show you what they look like and how to recognize them. This video is going to be filmed over the span of a couple weeks, and we're just going to go through the process together of how we raise these caterpillars and then release them into the wild as butterflies. So here in Connecticut, being up in the north, the monarch butterfly is one of very few species of butterflies. I'm not sure if there are any or how many there are that actually migrate. So monarch butterflies will fly south in the winter to Mexico. They spend their winter in Mexico. When spring comes and the weather warms up, they gradually move northward up the United States. There's several generations of monarch butterflies each year. I want to say maybe 4. I'm not 100% sure that it's 4. The first generation will come from Mexico. They'll be in, say, Texas, Arizona, the really southernmost parts of the United States. And then they move a little bit northward with each generation. And the generation that actually migrates and lives through the winter is the generation that we get here in Connecticut. So these butterflies that we're raising are going to be the ones that fly to Mexico, live there for the winter, and then eventually come back to the United States to lay their eggs, maybe in Texas or Arizona or someplace in the south like that. So it's really special to get to be a part of this process. So let's get started. I hope that you are as excited about this as we are, and we're going to have a lot of fun. All right, so let's go take a look at our monarch eggs. So I'm just going to show you a really quick glimpse at the setup we're going to use to bring our monarchs inside. We have this butterfly tent here, which I think I got on Amazon. I got it a few years ago. But I've lined the bottom with a double thickness of paper towels just because caterpillars poop a lot and we don't want that soaking through onto our table. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the milkweed from outside. I'm going to put it in this vase here. I want something that is stable so it's not going to tip over easily, but I want something with a narrow neck just in case any caterpillars fall off the leaves. We don't want them to fall into the water. So let's go outside and see how we have this milkweed plant here that has, I believe I found 7 monarch eggs that look like they have potential to hatch on it. I was planning to leave this out here maybe until they hatched, or at least another day or so, just because I didn't want to risk the plant drying out before the eggs hatch and the monarchs not having anything to eat when they first hatch. But I've noticed a couple eggs that look like they may have been eaten, and I don't see any sign of caterpillars, so I don't think it was caterpillars hatching out of them. So just to be safe, I'm going to go ahead and bring this plant in the house now. There is one other plant that I found a few eggs on as well. So we're going to bring these 2 plants into the house. I'm going to just kind of pull them up and try to get a little bit of root if I can. If not, we'll just cut the stem and put them in a glass of water. And that should keep them fresh for a few days, so the caterpillar will have something to eat. Now, if you're going to bring monarch caterpillars into your house, you do first want to make sure that you have a reliable source of milkweed. I have a lot of milkweed growing at my house. Now, if for some reason the caterpillars and other insects that eat through it and I run out of milkweed, I do have other places that I know where I can reliably get milkweed. So either way, these caterpillars will have food to eat. So let's go ahead and bring our milkweed in. We're going to pull up our 2 plants, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and make sure that there are not any other insects on these plants, because we don't want to take the chance of bringing something in with them that might be a predator to these caterpillars when they first hatch. We don't want them to have to be competing with predators inside our house as well. So let's go ahead and pull up these plants and bring them in. So we got a little bit of a root here, so that's good. That should help our plant stay fresh a little bit longer. So I'm just going to show you a close-up of a couple of these monarch eggs that we saw. I'm going to make sure that this plant doesn't have any other insects or spiders or anything else like that in it, and we're going to bring this inside. All right, so we brought our milkweed in the house. I put it in this vase. I added just a little pinch of sugar to the water. That's going to just give these plants some nutrients and help them last a little bit longer. And we should be seeing monarch caterpillars hatch in here any day now, so I will definitely keep you guys updated. So we brought the milkweed with the eggs into the house 2 days ago, and this morning we actually got to see a couple of the caterpillars hatch. So you can see that little guy's eating his egg. That's always their first meal, is the egg, and then they're going to turn to the milkweed. So I've seen at least 4 caterpillars that have hatched. There could be more that I haven't seen because they're hiding. See that egg right in the center of the screen there? See that little black spot in the middle of it? That's the little caterpillar. So it's slowly hatching right now, and we should have another caterpillar out really soon. Now the caterpillars are going to be really, really tiny when they first hatch, and even for the first few days afterwards. They're going to grow really fast. All the time that they're not sleeping, they're pretty much going to spend eating. They also poop a lot, so that's something to be prepared for. It kind of seems like the first day they really almost double in size, and then even after that they continue to grow really, really fast. So you're always going to have to be replacing their milkweed because they go through it so fast. So it's really important to make sure that they always have a fresh supply of milkweed. You're going to want to replace their milkweed, obviously when they eat a lot of it, but also when it starts to dry out. Monarch caterpillars don't drink water. They rely on their food, the milkweed that they eat, to be their source of liquid as well. So you don't want to be giving them dry milkweed because that's not going to provide for their water needs. So that's the reason why when you first make the decision to raise monarch caterpillars, before you bring any into your house, you want to make sure that you have a reliable source of milkweed. Now, I've seen some estimates that a single monarch caterpillar during its lifetime, or during its life as a caterpillar, will eat an entire milkweed plant. Now, that's a lot of food, especially when you consider the short amount of time that they're a caterpillar and you consider how small they are. So if you're going to end up raising, say, 10 monarch caterpillars, that means 10 milkweed plants. But the thing is, you're going to even want a buffer beyond that because some of the milkweed is probably going to end up drying out. Now, one year when I was raising monarch caterpillars, I have a big supply of milkweed in my yard, and so I didn't really think this would be an issue. But what I didn't take into account was that there were other insects in my yard that were also eating that milkweed, and I ended up running out of milkweed before all my caterpillars had turned to butterflies. So I was kind of driving down the street, finding patches of milkweed and harvesting milkweed from the side of the road. Now, that's always something you can do in a pinch if you have to, but it's easier. It's going to be easier on you just to make sure up front that you have a reliable source of milkweed. Now, this year, my milkweed patch has grown. I have more milkweed, plus some milkweed has sprung up at my parents' house, and so I know if I ran out of milkweed here, I could always go to my parents' house and grab some there, and that was my backup source of milkweed. One thing to be prepared for that you may not necessarily think of, and this is what happened to me the year that I ran out of milkweed. Sometimes when you bring new milkweed in for your caterpillars to eat, there are going to be more monarch eggs on that milkweed, and so you're going to end up bringing more monarchs into your house without really meaning to. That year, I think I started with probably 6 or 7 monarch caterpillars and ended up raising about 13, just because there kept being eggs on the milkweed that I brought in. Eventually, I started checking my milkweed very carefully and making sure there were no eggs on it, because at that point, I didn't want to be overcrowding my tent and ending up with too many monarchs in my tent. So you can check very carefully the milkweed that you bring in to make sure there's no eggs on it, or you can bring it in just being prepared that you're going to have more monarch caterpillars and more mouths to feed. One thing you're going to want to be prepared for when you raise monarch caterpillars is that they're going to molt several times throughout their lives. I can't actually remember, it might be 4 or 5 times that they molt as caterpillars. Now, considering that they're caterpillars for only probably a little over a week to maybe around 2 weeks or so, I think it kind of depends on environmental conditions like temperature and humidity as to how fast they grow. But regardless, during that short time that they're caterpillars, they're going to shed their skin 4 or 5 times. Basically, the reason for that is that as the caterpillar grows, their skin does not grow. And so when they start to get really tight in their skin, they shed their skin and a new layer of skin forms underneath. So every time they shed, they're going to be bigger. So what you want to be careful of, when a monarch sheds, it can take a while for them to actually shed their skin. You may see a caterpillar completely motionless and almost stiff looking. Don't touch that caterpillar, because if you touch a caterpillar in the process of molting, you can disrupt their molt and they may not be able to complete it. So you never want to move a caterpillar unless you see it already moving or eating. So a lot of times after the caterpillars shed their skin, they will actually eat their skin. They do that to hide any evidence of their presence there in case any predators happen to be nearby. Sometimes when you're raising them in captivity though, the skin will fall to the bottom of the tent and they won't eat it. So you may see kind of a shriveled up skin thing there. That's not a dead caterpillar. That's the shed skin of one of your monarch caterpillars as they're molting and growing. So when I first brought my caterpillars in this year, they were in eggs, and I think it took about 2 days after I had them in the house before the eggs actually hatched. And so that milkweed started to dry out when they were only a couple days old. They were very, very tiny. And at that point, they're very fragile and delicate. And so you don't want to actually touch the caterpillar. You don't want to move the caterpillar. So when I brought in fresh milkweed, the way that I got them to go to the new milkweed was I carefully cut out the section of leaf that they were on and then placed that section on top of the new leaf. You want to be really careful if you're doing that to make sure that their leaf section doesn't fall before the caterpillar actually transfers to the new leaf. Because if you think of how tiny that caterpillar is, that is a huge climb for them to climb up the vase and get to that new milkweed. You don't want them to have to do that. So you kind of have to use some patience and be really careful. So I find that that's the easiest way to transfer the really tiny caterpillars to a new leaf. Once they get a little bigger, they can easily find the milkweed themselves and you're not going to have to do anything to move them. So it's really only the first few days of their lives that you really have to worry about that. So once they kind of finish up their life as a caterpillar, probably when they're about a couple weeks old or so, again, I think the exact time that they're a caterpillar really depends on their environment. But when they're ready to make their chrysalis and move into the pupa stage, they're going to leave their milkweed plant. They usually wander for a while, sometimes a few hours, crawling around looking for the ideal spot. This is the time when it's really extra important to have them in a completely enclosed environment. I keep them in that caterpillar tent that I showed you for their whole lives because that prevents anything getting to them, that prevents any caterpillars escaping. I mean, if you have a tiny caterpillar escaping in your house, it's going to be almost impossible to find them. So I like to keep them in the enclosed area for their entire life as caterpillars. When they're ready to make their chrysalis, they will wander away from the milkweed. They do this because they're going to be in their chrysalis, motionless and defenseless for a while, and they don't want to make it easy for predators to find them. If they hang from the plant that they were eating from, predators are going to pretty easily be able to find them. Now, I did actually this year, I had one caterpillar that stayed on the milkweed and made its chrysalis on the milkweed. But every other caterpillar that I raised migrated to the top of the tent and hung their chrysalis from the top of the tent. Anyway, so that's when it's most important to have them enclosed, because if you don't have them enclosed, they could wander off. You'll end up with monarch chrysalises all over your house. And then when those butterflies come out, it's going to be quite a challenge to get them to come outside. So when they're ready to make their chrysalis, what they're going to do is they're going to wander for a while and they're going to find the perfect spot. When they find what they've chosen to be the perfect spot, they're going to kind of make a little like cotton-like pad. Once it's complete, they're going to hang from it upside down. So they're going to be head down and they're going to form their characteristic J shape. When you see a caterpillar in this J shape, don't touch or move it, just let it be, because they're completely defenseless at this point and they're completely vulnerable. So you just want to let them be and not disturb them at all. So in my experience, once they make this J shape, they're going to stay in that shape for at least 12 hours. Sometimes it might be closer to 24 hours. I think it depends on just environmental conditions. So once they've been hanging in that J shape and they're ready to form their chrysalis, the chrysalis is not actually something that they form around their body. The chrysalis actually forms underneath their skin, and then they're going to shed their skin one last time to reveal the chrysalis underneath. It's a really fascinating process. If you're lucky enough to get to see it, it's very, very interesting. They kind of almost unzip their skin. The skin splits, starting at their head and moving upward, and then underneath you see the green chrysalis. So once they have their skin completely split and removed, they're going to kind of wiggle around. It looks like they're doing some kind of crazy dance. It's really interesting to watch. And then what they're going to do is they're just going to shape and smooth out their chrysalis and also get that little bit of skin just to fall. So you can tell that they're getting ready to do that when their antennae start to look really ragged. You can see their antennae normally look very smooth and full. When they start to look really ragged, that's a sign that they're about to do what my son calls the pupa dance, where they shed their skin and they kind of wiggle around a little bit to get into their chrysalis. Sometimes before they do it, you can also kind of start to see a greenish tint to the caterpillar, and that's just the chrysalis showing through their skin. So we're going to pause this narration here, and I'm going to show you a clip of one of our caterpillars getting into the chrysalis so that you guys can experience that too. So once the caterpillar has completed their chrysalis, they're going to stay in that chrysalis for about 1 or 2 weeks to just really complete their transformation into a butterfly. So probably about 2 days or so before the butterfly emerges, you'll see the chrysalis start to darken. And then the day before they emerge, the chrysalis is going to become completely clear, and you're going to be able to really clearly see the butterfly underneath, and that is really cool. You can see the patterning of the wings, and that's how you know that your butterfly is about to come out. They usually come out in the morning, and it's a really quick process, so you kind of have to be in the right place at the right time to catch it. It happens really suddenly. So this time around, we're actually able to see the majority of our butterflies emerge from their chrysalis this year. So I'm going to pause again so I can show you a clip of the butterfly coming out. So at the time that I'm recording this narration part of the video, we've released 8 butterflies so far. We've had 5 females and 3 males. Those were all of the caterpillars that we originally started with, but as often happens, we did end up bringing in some more eggs without realizing it. So all of those original butterflies have been released. We now have 3 new caterpillars in our house. So those have a few days to go before they make their chrysalis, and then we'll be getting ready to release 3 more butterflies. And I'm pretty sure that we're done at this point. I don't think that we have any more eggs. So I think those will be the final ones for this year. So now we're going to go back in time a little bit, and I am going to show you the clip of releasing our butterflies. Enjoy. Okay, so we've got 3 new monarch butterflies to release this morning. We actually have 4 that came out of their chrysalises this morning, but one of them just came out and isn't ready to be released yet. We're about to leave for the day, so we're going to release the 3 that came out early this morning and let them be outside and enjoy the day. The new one that just came out, we're going to let that one just kind of hang out and dry off their wings for a little bit, and then we'll release that one this afternoon when we get home. So I'm going to introduce you to our new butterflies, and then we will let them go enjoy this beautiful day. So in here, I'm not sure how well you can see them, but we have our 4 butterflies. We have 3 that made their chrysalises on the top, hanging from the ceiling here. 2 of those 3 are ready to release. We also have 1 down here that made its chrysalis hanging from the milkweed. So I had to leave the milkweed in there for a little while to give that one a chance to really come out of its chrysalis. So far we've had 2 female butterflies and 1 male butterfly. I'm not 100% sure what these are. Hopefully we'll be able to tell when we take them out of this tent. And if we have some of each, I'm going to show you guys how to tell the difference. All right, so we're going to start with our butterfly that's on the milkweed. I'm just gonna really carefully, I think this one's a female, but it's hard to tell for sure when the wings are closed. Get a good look at her when she opens up her wings. You can see that she has thicker black veining on her wings. She also doesn't have the 2 black spots that the males have. It's hard to get a good look because she doesn't want to keep her wings open, but the males have on their lower wings, they have 1 big black spot on each wing. The females don't have that. So that's how we can tell that this one is a female. So I'm going to see if she wants to crawl into my finger, and then I'm going to move her over to a flower. So when you're releasing a butterfly, you never want to grab the butterfly, and you definitely never want to touch their wings. You can just kind of put your finger out and see if they choose to crawl onto your finger. So this butterfly chose to crawl onto my finger. You want to be really careful to never touch the wings and to never grasp the butterfly or hold the butterfly. You want to just hold out your finger and give them the choice to crawl onto your finger. Now, because this one hasn't been out of her chrysalis all that long, she's been out for probably about an hour and a half. She's still a little bit hesitant to fly. That's why this one was willing to crawl onto my finger here. So we're going to bring her over to some flowers in the garden and let her crawl onto the flowers and just rest for a little bit. And then I'm going to get our other 2 butterflies that we're about to release. She'll stay here for a little while her wings finish drying, and then she'll be ready to fly off into the world. So here's our next butterfly. This one looks like a female to me. Sometimes with a male you can see the spots through the underside of the wings a little bit. I don't see that on this one, but I'm going to wait for, yes, this one's definitely a female. She opened up her wings and I got a good look and saw that she's another female. So now the reason you want to be careful to never touch your butterfly's wings is that their wings are covered with these little scales, and that's what allows them to fly. If you touch the wings, the scales will rub off on your fingers and then your butterfly won't be able to fly. So we want to always be very delicate and gentle with our butterflies. So let's bring this little girl over to our flowers too. So here you can see really clearly the thick black veining on the wings. Males have the black veining, of course, but it's a little bit thinner. Now we're going to get the last butterfly that we're going to release today. I think this one might be a female as well. I think we might have 3 females. And the one that came out a little bit later, I'm thinking is a male, but I won't know for sure until a little bit later. So let's get our 3rd butterfly and see how she's doing. So here's our 3rd butterfly and our final butterfly of this morning. All right, so this is our 3rd and final butterfly of the morning. I'm just going to bring her over to the flower and we're going to let her go. This one looks like a girl too. So I'm hoping she'll flap a little bit and we can get confirmation of that, but I'm pretty sure that this one is a female. I don't see any sign of the black spots on the underside of the wings, and I can't really see in the wings very well, but I think they look pretty dark. So I think she's got that darker veining that's characteristic of the female butterfly. If anyone out there is a butterfly expert and can tell for sure, let me know if I'm right or wrong in the comments. But I'm gonna say that this one's a female. See in there, that's our 4th butterfly of the day. I'm pretty sure this one's a male. I don't know if you can see on the underside of the wings. I see a little hint of that black spot. Hopefully later this afternoon, I'll be able to get a video when we release him and we'll be able to tell for sure. But I'm thinking that this one is a male. Let's see, oh, maybe he's gonna open his wings and let us know for sure. Maybe not. All right, well, we'll release this guy this afternoon and we'll find out if I'm right or if we have 4 females today. So this is the last butterfly of the day. I'm going to release him now. I'm going to take a photo of the wings so I can show you what to look for to tell if the butterfly is a male or female. So thank you so much for going through the process of raising monarch butterflies with me. It's always a lot of fun to find those eggs and then raise them up and just know that you're making a little bit of a difference, keeping them safe from predators, increasing their survival rate. And it's a lot of fun, especially if you have kids. My kids had fun with this process. They didn't really want to be in the video, which is why you didn't see them at all. But my kids did enjoy watching the caterpillars grow and then releasing them and watching them find their flowers and just seeing them fly off. If you have a good, reliable supply of milkweed and you're able to find some monarch caterpillar eggs, it's just a great way to help out the monarch butterfly a little bit. So I hope that you'll consider trying it, or if not, then I hope that you at least had a lot of fun watching me raise these butterflies and that you learned a little something about their life cycle and how they grow. So I hope that you're having a great day. I hope that you're having an amazing summer, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Talk to you soon.